Hello and welcome, everyone. And today we're on the beautiful lands of Sambake First Nations, beautiful trout lake right behind me. And we're excited to see so many people following us and participating in it. And today will be another amazing session with Scott, and he will talk about mental performance. So over to you, Scott, and thanks for being here.
All right on. I am excited to be here. My name is Scott Donald. I'm a mental performance consultant and a student member of the Canadian Sports Psychology Association. I'm doing this through the Richmond Oval. As you can see on this page I'm sharing right here, I have my own company for my mental performance services. It's called Soul Performance. And at the bottom of the screen, you can see some teams and organizations that I have been so fortunate to work with in the past couple of years, including through the Richmond Oval, some volleyball teams and basketball teams, and now, of course, Table Tennis North and BC Speed Skating. And for the past couple of years, I've been working with the Douglas College Royals in the bottom right there, working with their volleyball and baseball teams. Yeah, that's a little background on me. I have a master's in sports psychology, and I was a long distance runner back in the day. That was my competitive sport. So yeah, I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me here, everyone on the live stream. Hello. I hope that you can get a lot of value out of this short little session that we got going on today. And if you have any questions, of course, please share them, because we'll have some time at the end for that. So without further ado, today we are going to talk about confidence. This might be the, people's favorite topic, because I think we all want a little bit more confidence in our life. And so we're going to talk about, what this skill of confidence really is and how we can build it. And I like to do things really applied. And so we're actually going to go through some exercises together wherever you are, and figure out how we can build our confidence here. So just to start, this is what I want you to do. I want whoever is listening, wherever you are, I want you to reflect on a couple things before we get deep into this. The first thing I want you to reflect on are, like, what would be one or maybe two words that describe you when you're most confident? Like one or two words that describe you, maybe like when you're at your best, when you're feeling like you got it going on, when you're confident. For you, that might be you're also calm. Maybe you're excited. Maybe you're motivated. Just consider right now one or two words that describe you in that state of mind and body. Now, the second thing I want you to reflect on is, where in your life maybe do you lack self-confidence? Where in your life do you lack self-confidence? And what we're doing right now is we're just building some self-awareness. Awareness is always the first piece to any change, to any improvement, to any growth in skills and things that you're working on, especially in mental performance. Is you need to be aware of kind of where you're at first, and then you can change. If you're not aware, then you don't really know what you can change or where you can find the improvement, right? So you need to be like, okay, this is where I'm at, and this is where I'm headed. So we're just reflecting here on, like, when we're at our most confident, and then maybe that area where we could have a little bit more confidence in our life. And I think we can all kind of identify both of those situations relatively easily, maybe. All right. So let's go into it right now. Before we figure out self and your abilities. That's what it is. It's a fundamental belief in who you are and what you're capable of. And really, it's the cornerstone of consistent performance. So when your confidence is consistently high, your performance is consistently high. Okay, confidence is a belief in yourself and in your abilities at whatever task. So, I mean, let's just take table tennis as an example. My confidence is quite low in table tennis because I don't play it, I don't practice it, whereas your confidence is probably pretty high in table tennis. So that's like the belief in your abilities right there. You have a certain belief in your ability to play table tennis or your other sports. I have a belief in my ability to play table tennis, but it might not really match up to yours. I also have just a belief in myself as a person who can learn things and grow. So that's a little different as well. And I hold a lot of confidence there too. So that's a little background on what we're actually talking about here. Now, again, before we get too deep into this, I want to dispel a couple myths, a couple maybe traps that we can fall into when we're thinking about confidence. The first belief that some people kind of have sometimes is you either naturally possess confidence or you don't, right? You're born with confidence or you're born without confidence. But we know that that's not true. Like, have you ever improved at anything before? Have you ever gotten better at something? Your confidence probably followed, right? As you improved at something, your confidence probably increased. So we can improve our confidence. And if we can improve a certain skill, that means we can actually train it too. So confidence is not only naturally possessed, but we can actually train our confidence. All right, myth number 2. Confidence only comes from past success. Now, if that were the case, then a lack of confidence would come from past failure. Now, that is sort of a broken way of thinking. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you a couple examples. Let's say you win the first 5 points of your match. And that means that you're confident because you had success. Okay, that kind of makes sense. What if you lose the first 5 points of your match? Does that mean you're not going to be confident? See, that's not an approach we can really take. And that sort of thinking doesn't actually work because that's still I'm gonna explain this a little further with a wonderful quote from Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace here, Kobe Bryant. He said once, I would go 0 for 30 before I would go 0 for 9. 0 for 9 means you beat yourself. The only reason is because you've now lost confidence in yourself. What he's really saying here is he'd rather miss 30 shots in the game than miss 9 shots in a game. Because if you miss 30 shots in the game, that means at least he kept shooting, right? He kept shooting the ball. If in himself. Okay, so Kobe Bryant with that great quote. This really means that his confidence does not depend on whether or not the ball actually went in the net or not. Okay, so it comes from something else. Confidence comes from something else. Now, what is that something else? Well, confidence, it really comes from the stories that we tell ourselves about who we are and what we're capable of, right? It comes from the thoughts that we have, the beliefs, these stories that we're telling ourselves in our mind at any given time. Okay. Confidence comes from the stories that we tell ourselves. Now, I want to test our stories here for a second. Let's test our stories and let's jump into a little exercise together to actually see how we can build our confidence here. Okay. Now, wherever you are, this is a nice little exercise that I like to give people. So if you're just listening along, that's amazing. You can just listen along and maybe think these things through. If you've got a phone on you or if you've got a pen and paper and something to write with, that's amazing too. So yeah, whichever's going to work for you in this situation. This is what I want you to do right now. to test your stories. I want you to identify, think about, or write down a situation when you lack confidence. Now, we reflected on this at the beginning, right? What's that situation where you're not feeling so confident? You know, might be going up against an opponent that's a little stronger than you. It might be presenting in front of a class. It might be writing a test or an exam. It might be speaking to certain people in your life. Maybe just identify at least a situation where you're lacking confidence right now. Okay, once you've got that identified, I want you to now identify or write down the thoughts that are going through your mind at that time. In that moment where you're lacking confidence, what are you saying to yourself? What is your self-talk? Because these are contributing to the stories that you're telling yourself about your abilities in that moment. Okay, so write down some of the thoughts going through your mind. And again, this is an awareness piece, right? What am I thinking? What am I telling myself in these different situations? Specifically right now, when I'm lacking confidence, what's going through my mind? Now, once you have maybe a few thoughts written down, maybe it's like, that opponent is stronger than me, or I'm not a good speaker, whatever it is. Next to each one of those thoughts, I want you to ask yourself, write down, or literally ask yourself, is that thought 100% true? Is it 100% true? Because if that thought is not 100% true, it is no longer serving you, okay? It's not doing anything really productive for you if that thought is not 100% true. So if the thought is, that opponent is going to beat me, well, is that 100% true? 100 times out of 100, is that opponent going to beat you? Or let's say like 10 out of 10 times? Like, can you beat that person? Really? Maybe like once out of 10 times on a really good day? If you're having your best day, they're not having a great day. Can you beat that person? Because if you can, the 1 out of 10 times, then that thought that you're going to get beat on that given day, that thought isn't serving you in any way anymore. And so the key piece here is to just be aware of the thoughts that you're having in your mind when you're lacking confidence, and then be willing to challenge them. Now, this is an exercise that we can do right now. Like, we're doing this right now together. Maybe you're writing it down on a piece of paper. But this is also the exercise that I urge you to do, when you're in that moment. Just question those thoughts, challenge those thoughts, and ask, are they 100% true? Okay, that's part one. That's part one of training our confidence right now in this mini live session. Right on. Let's go over to part two here. Now I want you to identify or write down a situation when you feel confident. Okay, we also did that at the start, I think. What's it feel? What's it like when you're at your best? What is that situation like when you're feeling your most confident? Write down that situation here, or just think about it in your mind for a second. All right, when you have maybe something that comes to mind, performance psychologist, Dr. Michael Gervais, he works for the Seattle Seahawks. He calls these your epic thoughts. These are your epic thoughts. These are what you can use into mind here. Like I'm capable of doing this. I have unique talent. Whatever. I don't know what thoughts are coming through your mind right now. I'm just making things up. Okay, so once you have a few thoughts written down there, this is the most important part. And this is where confidence really comes from. With me? You ready? Okay. Next to each one of those best or epic thoughts, you need to back it up with past evidence of when you've done difficult things, when you've done something extraordinary, right? You need to support these thoughts. Because here's why. When you get into this pressure moment, this challenging moment, we're really good at lying to ourselves. So we can't just speak our best thoughts. We can't just say, if Scott says my confidence comes from what I tell myself, I'm gonna say these affirmations to myself and I'm gonna be confident. No, it doesn't work like that, because there's nothing that you can trust there in those thoughts. You need to be able to trust those thoughts, and they need to be supported by past experiences or past things that you've done, give you that reason to actually trust yourself. So back those thoughts up with at least 2 or 3 things at least that you've done to support that thought. So if the thought is like, I can beat this opponent, well, reflect on some moments where have you beat this person before? Have you beat someone maybe of a similar caliber before? Have you come back from a big point deficit before? Have you put in some consistent training that gives you the right to speak to yourself like this? So best yourself when you speak this way. Exercise, but we just went through a big confidence exercise to round this all out for you, and to give you some tangibles before we get into some Q&A. These are some tips I'll just give you to train your confidence from home. Okay, so after you get off this call, later today, tomorrow, next week, you'll have some things that you can actually do to train your confidence. This is my highest recommendation, is you keep a confidence journal, or you keep a journal of some sort where you can write these things down on a daily basis. So I want you to reflect on those things that allow you to be confident, or reflect on the things that allow you to trust yourself. Do that often, because confidence is something we have to keep feeding, because it can fluctuate, it can come and go. So we have to keep feeding it. We have to keep training our confidence. Another thing is to look for what's good in our day, throughout our day. This is like a gratitude practice, looking for what's good. What this does is it trains our optimism, and confidence. There's a lot of overlap there. So if you're training your optimism, you're in part training your confidence as well. And then the final tip I've got for you is to actually imagine those difficult situations, and imagine showing up as your most confident self. If you can get in that situation, literally closing your eyes, visualizing that situation, visualizing how it will feel when you're in that situation, that trains the mind as well. So those are my tips for you to keep on training at home, build that self-awareness, reflect on the things that allow you to trust yourself, look for the good things to reinforce your ability to be optimistic, and visualize those outcomes as well. All right, I think we are right on the cusp of 20 minutes here, so I'm going to move this into some Q&A. I just want to say, you all got this. You can do this. If you ever want to get in touch with me, I'm like one of my page out, Soul Perform. I'm throwing these tips out on an almost daily basis to improve things like confidence, optimism, focus, staying calm under pressure. Otherwise, it's been an absolute pleasure being here for 20 minutes, and I'll open this room up for any questions that people have.
That was great, Scott. Thank you so very much for being here and also working with our kids. And yeah, I mean, it's so great when you say visualization as well. And I talk to hockey and to other sports as well, and it's a big one. And writing it down and finding the positive in this, and then just focusing on that. I think that's, for me, the biggest statement, and that what we are trying to do with our kids here in the north is always that reinforcement, that positiveness, and yeah, moving in that direction. So thank you very much for mentioning that. Chandra, any questions? Not to put you on the spot, Chandra. One of the questions that I have for you, Scott, is how is it working with our kids? And maybe you can talk a little bit about how that started and where you're at with our kids.
Just the work that I'm doing with your athletes right now?
Correct.
Yeah. How did that start? Well, I've been working with the Richmond Olympic Oval for the last few months, working with some other teams. And so I think that's how we've been in touch, and we've created this little team with Evan and Emily, right, doing nutrition and strength and mental performance. And so we've done 2-hour-long workshops or sessions together already. And we did one on confidence, where we basically expanded this, and we went through some other exercises to improve confidence. We were working on things like self-compassion. That's a big part of confidence too, is not judging ourselves when we get into tricky moments. Treating yourself like you would treat a friend when you're anxious, when you're under pressure, things like that. And then I think it was last weekend, we did our second session where we talked about staying calm under pressure. And so there was more self-talk involved there, understanding how nerves are actually your body trying to help you in difficult situations. And then we focus on breathing and using the breath to calm our mind and body. So that's where we've gotten up to at this point. And keeping your mind in the present moment, which is one of the most important tools, I think, as well for any athlete or performer.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I don't see any more questions here, and I don't see anything on the live stream. Maybe you can give us some more homework for next week.
Or I can't hear. Oh. Some homework for next week?
Yeah.
Yeah. So next week, I think in this live session, we're gonna go over staying calm under pressure. So I think we're going to a big part of that is going to focus on the breath. Okay, whoever's on this live right now, here's your homework: is put one hand on your chest right now and one hand on your stomach, and I want you to just take a few deep breaths. I'll do this with you. And I just want you to feel your hands moving. And I want you to note which hand is moving more, the one on your stomach or the one on your chest. Maybe I won't even give away which one is the best one to be moving. But this is what I want you to do for the next week, is just be aware of your breathing. Be aware of your breathing rate when you're calm, when you're maybe a little anxious or stressed. Be aware of your breathing rate when you're exercising, and just be aware of your breath. Because again, awareness is piece number one. So when we get into working through staying calm when we're anxious or nervous or we're under pressure, being aware of our breath, being aware of where our mind and body is at, is step number one. So there's your homework for next week, Thor.
Absolutely love it. It's so beautiful. And I love the breath and pranayama and all that. So thank you very much for that, Scott. And thank you very much for the session. And thanks for working with our kids. It's an absolutely delight to have you and the entire team helping us and supporting us. And I'm looking forward to next week and more good things to happen. So thank you very much, Scott.
Right on. Thank you, Thor. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.